Okie dokie. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, August 18th, 2023. And yesterday, what were we talking about yesterday? We were talking about how off the overnight lows coming into the open. So let's go all the way back to the New York Open here somewhere. We were talking about how on the higher time frames from the overnight low, which I believe was back here around 44.09, that we didn't have any strong bullish signals on the hourly or the 4-hour, right? And we already broke through our line in the sand all the way over at 44.11 quarter, and we were tested into it. It really was the moment of truth, remember we said, but there was no, and let me bring up the 60-minute and the hourly here so we could look at this. Scroll back to the pre-market here. So this is what we saw on the charts, and we saw that as we made this low, I mean, it was right off of our expected, it's our moment of truth level, right? That 44.11 quarter that had to hold for any of our higher time frame signals to continue to show that bullish potential. And so we were holding it in the overnight session, but there was no bullish divergence on the 60-minute. There was no bullish divergence if we go back to the 4-hour as well, back to the pre-market. No bullish signal on the 4-hour. So what I told you guys is, yes, this is the moment of truth. We have to hold this area in order for our higher time frame bullish potential to follow through. And then we needed to get through some key levels above to have any faith in that potential rotation. However, we didn't have the confluence of the bullish signals on the hourly and the 4-hour. So I told you guys that I did expect there to be either a push to test the low, and we talked about 3 scenarios. We talked about a push down to come and maybe bounce just in front of the low of the overnight session and come higher. The other situation was going to come down and maybe test it to the tick and we'll get a double bottom, right? Or you could also come down and maybe peak below and get a bounce. But those were those 3 potential scenarios we wanted to see for that bullish rotation. But if this level wasn't going to hold, again, we didn't have strong enough bullish signals to indicate that rotation. So I did expect a double bottom or something before we were actually going to get the bigger rotation. And then what happened was it just failed, right? So the fact that we didn't have any good bullish signals from those lows on these more intermediate time frames here was the clue that we were going to get either a lower low or a retest of that overnight low right around that 44.11 quarter area, or we were just going to go ahead and continue to push lower. So that's what happened yesterday. Let's look at some of the details here. Market opened and we just started selling off. That was it. We were right up just a couple ticks in front of our 50% retrace. So of the smaller leg from the high of the day before down, I believe was the retracement we were looking at in terms of the smaller retracement levels. We came right up and we didn't test it to the tick or anything like that, but we essentially failed just in front of 50% of that retracement, or failed just a couple ticks in front of the 50% retracement, and then the market just started to sell off. So here's the New York Open, and we basically got more stair-step action here where the market just held right off the back end of our scaffolding levels and then continued to sell off from there. Let me reorient this. We did get a really nice parry right around this 44.11 quarter level, which was that line in the sand there for the higher time frame. So there was actually an attempt there to actually hold 44.11 quarter nearly to the tick. In fact, it bounced to the tick in 2 instances, but then failed again right off the back end of our scaffolding level. Again, we see this just happen day in, day out. And then from there, it just continued to sell off. We had these areas of potential support below. We were looking at this shaded region right here. They just sliced right on through. Then we were looking at this shaded region right around 84 to 86 or 84 to 87 there. Just went ahead and continued chugging right down through all of it. And then we closed down just below the next scaffolding area. So it was a really nice, healthy sell-off. Plenty of opportunity on the way down. It was a much more aggressive sell-off. So as you can see, the market never retraced back into the 200. It was basically just holding the FMA the entire way down until that little bit of sideways action right at the end of the day. So And beautiful holds right off of our scaffolding here. And then again, it looked actually, it started to get that nice stair step. We got below the scaffolding, held it from the back end, came down, held the 200. Of course, they didn't make it easy, right? So it didn't come right to the 200 and continue going. They came right back to the scaffolding. And then again, the next level of stair step would be right under the low of the day before there. And it looked like we would then continue going lower, but then they made it a little difficult, popped it right back to the scaffolding, right? So the stair step action is down right off the scaffolding, down right off the low of the day before, and the expectation would be for lower there. Of course, like I said, they didn't make it easy, popped it right back up into the scaffolding, and then from there, we got that super aggressive sell-off. So all the opportunity yesterday, once the market started to reject off this double top right off of the scaffolding, was to be short off the FMA. And then that last hour of the market was just a chop fest in there. Nothing sexy really going on. And that brings us here into our pre-market here for this morning. The market's continuing with its bearish push. And again, some beautiful holds if we were looking at it from the perspective of our VWAP. Another beautiful overnight session where we just kind of ride the VWAP there, right? And then it gets a little messy and starts to come down below and then holds the VWAP to the downside and the 200 here for the sell-off that we're currently in. So that wraps up our review of what's happened here since last open. Let's go ahead and look at what the charts are saying on the higher time frames.